Hello and welcome to the eighth podcast with Lillian and Andy. This time we're going to be discussing how the method that we use can be applied to other chronic conditions.
And I would read aloud a little statistic I found on the internet. And it says a large number of chronic illnesses are linked to chronic stress, with some estimates suggesting that 75 to 90% of doctors' visits are related to stress-related ailments. Chronic stress can worsen or trigger a variety of conditions, including cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, obesity, some cancers, autoimmune disorders, and of course, a lot of mental illnesses. So, what do you think about that statistic?
It's astonishing, very interesting as well, but astonishing. It's a very high percentage of conditions, chronic conditions that are linked directly to stress. I'm not surprised by it, Lillian, because I firmly believe that my PD diagnosis is due to chronic stress. Oh, I know it is. I know it is. I'm absolutely sure about that.
I don't know how this statistic came around, but I'm not sure Parkinson is part of that statistic because it have this firm belief that it's not connected
Mm.
directly to stress. But yeah, everybody knows that it become worse when
Yeah,
you are stressed.
absolutely. Absolutely. It's clear as anything that that happens, that there's a link.
Do you have any symptoms that not belong in the Parkinson basket of symptoms?
Yeah, I have other symptoms such as numbness in my feet, which I believe is called neuropathy. This doesn't fit with the PD diagnosis, which suggests that symptoms from other conditions can be caused by stress, because I have other things, and I've been told by a Parkinson's nurse that the numbness in my feet is not Parkinson's.
And what do
So
you think about that? Because you are one person.
yeah, I think that the symptoms are all symptoms of my stress condition. Parkinson's is just a useful label to kind of the basket of symptoms, as you say, that we put these symptoms into the Parkinson's basket, and the ones that don't fit we leave outside it. But of course, it's my body. My body is one thing. My mind and body are one thing. So the symptoms are all connected. All
And
symptoms that I have are connected.
yeah, because you're one body. So
Yeah,
if you have stress, the level of adrenaline is higher in your body and it probably affects all your symptoms.
definitely. Yes.
Yeah. So we are slowly opening up for other type of symptoms and illness because it was on purpose I started with Parkinson because it's so easy for other people to see what's going on. So I've learned a lot as a coach by watching the symptoms flare up and calm down again. Then I could ask people, what's going on? Why are your tremor bigger now than 10 minutes ago? And people could say something like, oh, I'm thinking about the work of
Mm,
tomorrow.
mm,
And it's
mm.
just, your thoughts have an
Yeah,
impact on your
yeah,
symptoms.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I find myself saying, "What was I just thinking about?" Because my tremor has increased. So, what was I? And it's usually something challenging or stressful or that I don't want to do, and then my tremor starts, and I have to step back and think, "What did I just think?"
So
And
I actually think that, of course, this natural stress link, it must be Parkinson that was one of the first chronic illnesses where you figure this out in details, and now it's time to broaden it out so more people can benefit.
absolutely.
So what do you think? I have a series of courses and have this overcome Parkinson's. Do you think other people can benefit from that?
Definitely. I mean, not least of all, Lillian, because when I did the course, which was all for people with a Parkinson's diagnosis, the symptoms were so varied. You know, some people had no tremor, but they had problems walking, and it was a complete range of symptoms that covered all parts of the body, which suggests that symptoms from other conditions, which are separated by their labels, are stress related.
Yeah, so what if these labels that most of them are a human construct? It's made by some groupings
Mm. Yeah, it's just,
more than it's a fact.
yeah, I mean, they find common ground, don't they? They try and find common symptoms, and then you're given a diagnosis, and then you're kind of stuck with that, really. Whereas if the condition is caused by stress, then there's things you can do.
That are general for all
It's general
people.
for all people, absolutely, because all of us have stress in our lives. A little bit of stress is good, but chronic excessive stress causes these conditions.
And I think a symptom on this is that even in Parkinson, they are making subdivisions all the time because people don't like to be in a box. They don't, where their symptoms doesn't fit perfectly. So they keep inventing new and new subdivisions
Mm.
to
Well,
Parkinson.
they talk about Parkinsonism, which is a range of conditions of different kind of extremity and different symptoms. And I think it's probably quite vague for some people. They probably blur the boundaries for some people. As I say, I have this neuropathy in my feet, which isn't a Parkinson's symptom. I've been told that, but it's part of my symptoms.
Yeah.
Which other chronic conditions could be due to long-term stress?
What I do every time I search a symptom or diagnose, I write it down in English and next to the word stress. I'll just read a little statistics telling that approximately 27% of adults in US, that is 68 million people, have 2 or more chronic condition. And that's numbers from 2018. And they have actually made a diagnosis called multiple chronic conditions.
Wow.
And in the whole Europe, it's like 50 millions that has one or more chronic condition. And I'm pretty sure that link into exactly what we're talking about, that when people are stressed, they get a lot of different stress symptoms, and let's say 1/3 of them fit into one diagnosis, another third into a second diagnosis, and then you have something less that sooner or later will fit into a new diagnosis
Mm.
as you ramp up your stress.
And all these conditions have names, and all these names are going to make you even more stressed. If you're told you have this illness, you have this illness, you will become more and more stressed and more ill.
Yeah, and all chronic illness have some labels, and some are you will die within X number of years, or you will end in a wheelchair like with Parkinson, or this will never become better, or and what can we say? Does that help people, do you think?
Absolutely not. If you're told you're going to degenerate, you probably will.
Yeah, because we need hope. We need some positivity in our daily day
Mm.
to get up from the black hole of symptoms and bad mood, and
Mm.
maybe you have lost your job or your spouse or something, and it can be a revolution in your life that give you a set of other conditions and less money and so on. So it's not a small thing, it's a big thing.
Mm.
But what if all people on earth, actually, also the healthy one, they knew a lot more about how to interpret their symptoms.
Mm.
Would that save the governments around the world some money, do you think?
A fortune, an absolute fortune, Lillian. You know, we live in a very, very complicated time. 2025, life is very complicated. People's brains are overloaded with information, and stress levels are higher than they've ever been. And there's all these chronic conditions that are on the increase. I mean, there's a link here, definitely.
And by zooming in on different aspects of stress, I mean, what you just mentioned, I think a very important thing is that when we 50 years ago sat in a train from A to B, 2 hours, we had to stare out of the window. And what do people do now? They fill their brains with even more
Yeah,
information.
yeah. Constant input all the time. It's damaging to have all this input. The attention span is getting shorter and shorter and shorter, and the hits of dopamine that people are getting is more and more needed and more craved. And this can't be good. This is
And
putting stress on your body and your brain.
yeah, and as we have talked about in the course, that dopamine, it's definitely a tricky hormone because it can push to your stress.
Mm,
So these small, nice kicks of dopamine when you watch something on your phone, it feels nice, but it comes with a price later
mm.
in your day. So,
Yeah, what goes up must come down.
would you look forward to see more people with more different diagnoses in our program?
Definitely. I think it would be really, really interesting and really beneficial for everybody on the course because you get different input and we could find out where the common ground is. It would be fascinating.
Yeah.
Definitely, yes. Yeah.
So
So related to that, Lillian, my another question, can autoimmune conditions such as Crohn's disease and multiple sclerosis be caused by stress?
I am so certain, and every time I get a question like that, I do again this. I write Crohn and stress just next to each other. And stress can significantly worsen symptoms and trigger flare-ups.
Mm,
And they also write it's not the cause to Crohn's disease. And you can say it's not really important how it started. But if you can just start your stress reduction and see where it brings you, and maybe you have
mm,
10% left, and maybe you get really nerdy and continue all the way. Managing stress is crucial for individuals with Crohn's as it can help break the cycle of symptoms. Stress can push to autoimmune diseases, both how they start and how they are later in
mm,
life. It can be actually the trigger for some months with diseases, and it can make the symptoms you have worse.
mm.
So it's also here said that it's not the direct cause, but it's not so important. We just trust that if you can get 5% better, 10% better, 50% better, or can go all the way, time will show. We are all
Yeah,
different, and
yeah,
it's different how much time we have. Maybe you have a job, children, maybe we are retired, that we had lots of time, maybe a big family or a lot of pets. But if you use time, you can get to the bottom of at least your stress symptoms, and then we'll figure out what it's left. And people can ask themselves here, do they have And it's easier with a disease like Parkinson than some of the other, but if you just have 1 minute, 1 hour, or half a day with less symptoms,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know that it's very stress related.
This is an interesting thing, Lillian, because when you don't have symptoms, you don't notice your body so much because this is what you want. You want to be free of your symptoms. And when your symptoms are low or non-existent, you just don't notice them. But that's the important thing. You must notice that your symptoms are reduced
Yeah,
because this means you're doing the right thing.
yeah, exactly. So have you have periods with less or no symptoms?
Yeah, absolutely. Even when I'm not on medication, I can silence my tremor by just breathing slowly and relaxing and lowering my stress, basically. And it makes a huge difference to my symptoms.
And this about spending time nerding with what did you think? What did you do? What become better? What became worse?
Yeah. What did I just think about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we become a sort of stress nerds. Is that a way to put it?
Brilliant. I love it. We're stress nerds. We are switched on to our stress. We are taming it. We are aware of it. We are thinking about it and analyzing it. It's essential because then you change your habits. Because stress, I think, for people with chronic stress like myself, it's a habit. You react to in a very negative way to stresses in your life, to triggers in your life. And you do so because this is what you've done in the past. And we continue to behave like this. And the behavior needs to be questioned and challenged and changed, essentially. You need to change yourself. And this is what the course helps us to do. It helps us to change ourselves.
And that's why we also need more people because it's knowledge. There's not a lot of places in the world you can learn this sort of things.
No, and essentially it should be taught in school when you're a child. You should be taught how to be a relaxed, low stress person. But we're not taught how to do this. We're just thrust out into the world, get on with it, and these chronic conditions are a result of that.
Yeah, and you can say here we are on a journey to prove the world that it can be different, and
Mm,
let's hope that our grandchildren get the benefits of learning some of it. There's a few schools in Denmark where they have a little meditation here and there, but
excellent.
I think it's very dependent on who is in charge.
Mm.
Should we call it a day? Yes.
Yep.
So looking forward to see you guys another time, another podcast. See you.